I've said it once before, and I'll say it again. Existence is pain for Dolphins fans. In just a little under a week, Tua Tagovailoa, we don't know if he'll ever play it down again for the Miami Dolphins. And right before that, Tyreek Hill got pulled over, and it was pretty much entirely his fault. Justin, sir, we're starting off this little Loud and Drunk Sports Edition episode. What do you got to say initially about Tyreek Hill and Tua Tagovailoa?
So first of all, I just want to say hello, and thanks for having me here. Dan, I want to commend you for saying Tua's last name, because that, I ain't saying that name. That's hard to say. So Tua getting that concussion again is pretty sad because he's definitely been getting back on the horse and throwing a good football these days. Last year, I actually started watching the HBO documentary or whatever, Hard Knocks, and I actually got into it pretty good. It was really good.
My brother has reached out to me, and he told me to use his HBO Max account to watch that. And I think it's True Detective. Moses, you're in on this recording as well.
So. I don't know why I'm here. And True Detective, it's hit or miss. It depends on the season.
First season.
But it's funny because I watched Hard Knocks all the way back. I think it was 2012 when the Dolphins were last on it, and they had Joe Philbin, and they had Chad Johnson. And they caught him, and they was like, that was a big deal. It was pretty much just a reason to have him on the show. So I ignored that because I don't care.
It's good.
I know it's like interesting and all that stuff, but like I am so despondent over like I don't care. Just win on the field. I don't care. Just go out there and play the game well. Like do the Tecmo Super Bowl thing, Tua, where you just throw the ball and it goes right to Tyreek in the end zone for some reason. Like an 80-yard pass play. It is.
Just be careful at that celebration.
So yeah, but I mean, all right, just for a second here, the Hard Knocks thing was cool, just because it kind of made me like a mini fan of the Dolphins. Yeah. Like you kind of get to understand the players pretty well, and I like that. But anyway, Tua getting that concussion. So I thought it was like super ironic that the concussion he got that day, where he lowered his head and went into Damar Hamlin.
Yep.
What was that? A heart attack? Stroke?
Yeah, it was like a cardiac arrest episode.
So he had heart failure.
Yeah. There was a lot of stuff going on there where people were kind of implying one thing or the other. It was
Tua that went into a cardiac?
No, it was the guy that essentially he didn't even really tackle him. It was kind of like just like Tua just went into him.
He went to his chest.
Yeah, and he just
bombed
and he plopped over. I think Tua is the first place to go to in terms of Tyreek and Tua, because I can break it down like this being a Dolphins fan. There's two ways to go about this. So he's on injury reserve, so he can't come back until week 8. That's when the Dolphins play the Arizona Cardinals. I'm going to use that as kind of like the litmus test, the Mendoza line. I know you like baseball, Justin. So this is the line where the Dolphins need to make up their mind as to, because everyone was kind of thinking like Tua should retire. He's had too many concussions, and we've talked about this, leading into this podcast. I don't really buy that because everyone forgets about Sidney Crosby. He had a lot of concussion issues way back in like 2011, 2012, right around that time frame. And what the Penguins did effectively is just shut him down for that one season. I think that was 2011. And because I think they lost in 7 games of the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first round. They didn't have Crosby, they didn't have Malkin. And he really didn't have any concussion issues going forward after that. I think the Dolphins need to kind of make up their mind with what they want to do with Tua in 2 ways. So I'm looking at their schedule right now. While we're recording this, it's right before they're about to play the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. That's going to be a rough game for them to potentially win, just because that's the longest possible trip that you can go in the NFL, from Miami to, I mean, except for maybe going from Seattle all the way to like London.
Jet lag. Thank you.
Yeah.
Terrible. I don't know how they do it.
But like, if so I'm not anticipating the Dolphins win that game with who I presume still to be their 3rd string quarterback, even though he beat out Mike White and now he's no longer on the team. But Skylar Thompson, who played a playoff game and did not play disastrously poor. Like, the Dolphins arguably could have won that game against the Buffalo Bills 2 years ago in Buffalo if like Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill made more plays. Yeah. I don't want to put that at the feet of a 3rd string quarterback, because it wasn't like he was a disaster. He's your third string quarterback at the time.
He's doing the best he can.
He's doing the best he can. He's making the throws. You got these all-star, like Pro Bowl wide receivers. They got to make the plays. They got to bail you out of that situation. I don't think
it takes a team.
So, with Skylar Thompson being in there, I know that the the Dolphins just acquired Tyler Huntley, who is a Pro Bowler. I mean, he's like almost a veteran at this point.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how good he is. He's always kind of been a backup. He was in the Ravens for a bit, but do you see him? So, I mean, I don't know if he even knows the playbook yet.
That's the issue. It takes a while. Like, there's no such thing as plug and play really in the NFL unless you're a guy like Joe Flacco who just suddenly shows up with Cleveland.
Photographic memory,
and he's just been in the league for 1,000 years. So he can.
I did see that movie.
But I would say going forward, it's got to be Skylar Thompson's team, at least until that week 8 situation. So they got at Seattle. I really chalk that up as an L. But the Monday night against the Titans, and I know the Dolphins lost Monday night against the Titans, last season with Tua, but they should have won that game. And that was a pretty good example of your typical Dolphins collapse in December. Like, I could be the quarterback for the Dolphins, and they should beat the Titans. So if they got a guy who earned the backup role, they should win that game. And then after that, they got at New England. So they got to go divisional game against the Patriots. I got to say, like,
the Pats are not looking good. So
they're not looking good, but they're better than last year. So what I would say is
time.
Yeah. Here.
Like, I don't give a shit about sports, but goddamn, fuck the Patriots.
What happened to the Patriots court? I don't mean to go off
Mac Jones.
Yeah, what happened to that guy?
I think he got traded. I don't remember what happened.
He wasn't really great anyway. But I mean, and their other quarterback didn't he get hurt? The guy from Carolina.
I know they're rolling with Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah,
but like and Jacoby Brissett was actually the backup for the Dolphins. All right, so Mac Jones is on the Jacksonville Jaguars. So he's the backup there for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, he sucked.
So I'm thinking in terms of like if they can beat the Patriots, I think that'll be a closer game.
Think they can.
It's up in Foxborough, but also if this guy earned your backup spot, then he should be able to pull off this win. You got a bye week, so that's helpful. And then it's at Indianapolis, so it's in the dome, so you got a little less to deal with in terms of weather, but then the noise stays in. But I think those are all winnable games. And if you can't win those games with Skylar Thompson, the way I would phrase it, if you can't go 3-1 with that kind of schedule, then you gotta shut Tua down for the rest of the season. Don't even worry about it.
Well, I want to know. I have Raheem Mostert here.
Yeah.
When's he coming back? Because he is a crucial key in their offense. He's a really good player.
He's a good player, but also a part of the Dolphins' running game is Mostert. But also you have Devon Achane, who is
don't know much about him.
He's also really good. He's like they threw a freaking turd against the Buffalo Bills, and he was the only one that actually played exceptionally well. Like, Tua did not have a great game against the Bills, but also at the same time, like his pick 6 was like on one of the receivers. He just ran the wrong route. It's like kind of like a good to have. Like, as long as you have one of those two guys, because you have like Mostert is also like a track star, or was a track star. So if you get him back and have Devon Achane, then you have more weapons. It's the same basic principle of having having Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. You have these guys that can just stretch the field out. You can do the yards after catch type of situation. Achane is kind of like, in terms of him and Mostert, like, I would rather have Achane healthy, but he is kind of, I don't want to say brittle, but like he's kind of more injury prone. So if you can get Mostert back relatively quickly, I don't know when he's slated to return, but if you can get him back, then you have more weapons for Skylar Thompson to work with. And then I'm going to go 2 different directions with this, because I said if you can't pick up 3 wins in that 4-game span, then you got to shut Tua down. I can also see that if you win all of those games, if you go 4-0 and Skylar Thompson looks great, then maybe you consider it's like, all right, we can afford now to rest Tua a little bit more, maybe even potentially shut him down. But the reason I'm kind of more against that is because the Dolphins' schedule after the bye, you got at Indianapolis, Arizona. Arizona's not a punk. You got at Buffalo, guaranteed loss because the Dolphins don't beat Buffalo.
Not at all.
And that's an early November game, so it's not going to be balls cold, but it's going to be colder.
Cold. It's probably going to be snowing.
Yeah. You got at the Rams, and then you got not at Vegas. Then you got the Raiders. I don't like calling them Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to remember.
It's an affront to my soul to call them anything other than maybe Los Angeles or Oakland. because that's what I was brought up with.
Mhm.
And then you go back and you play the Patriots, so arguably a win. You go in Green Bay on Thanksgiving night, then home against the Jets, at Houston to play CJ Stroud. Then you got home against the San Francisco 49ers, arguably the best team in the league, if not, the Chiefs, then the best team in the NFC. And then at Cleveland a couple days before New Year's Eve. Like, that's going to be really cold. The Dolphins don't play well in December, let alone in cold weather. And then at the Jets. That is a hard schedule for the Dolphins to get to 10, 11 wins.
But I think they
even
can,
with Tua.
I think they can do it, though, because, I mean, the Dolphins are not a bad team, and a lot of those teams are not that great. I feel like they match up pretty well. Defense, I don't know much about the Dolphins' defense. I know it used to be better than it is now, but I know that a lot of those teams that you just said, the Packers, the Titans, the Seattle, I'm pretty sure they're going to lose at Seattle.
But here's the thing, though, because Green Bay, it's in Green Bay. And it's and it's going to be at night, so it's going to be much colder. And it's Thanksgiving, so it's the Thanksgiving night game. So the Dolphins.
I always enjoyed watching those games. Sorry,
yeah,
the Thanksgiving night games are just fun.
And that actually kind of irked me because now I'm like, I got to figure out where I can be to watch this game. But like, the games on the road in late November, December, and January in cold weather climates always give me concern because the Dolphins don't play well in cold weather because they're used to being able to play in like 90-degree heat, and I'm being generous by saying 90-degree heat. So it turns around and bites them in the ass towards the end of the season. So I'm not going to say that like
can you say they're like a fish out of water?
They are. They're a frozen fish more like. So like, even though like Deshaun Watson is like not playing well, I don't circle that game against the Browns in Cleveland close to the end of the year, like practically the end of the year, and be like, oh, well, they'll win that. It's like, well, no, it's in Cleveland. They might just not be able to move because they play in Miami.
Yeah. Why don't they, like, it's an NFL team, so they have money. Why not
practice in
cold, like some kind of cold enclosure, like something of like Rocky 3.
They try to do that because usually when they travel, you get there early and you practice on the field of the opposition.
Yeah, but I mean, they can still they can do their spring training in some kind of like frozen, like refrigerate, like giant refrigerator.
Why would they train themselves during the training camps?
Because most of their all of their losses seem to be where it's fucking cold.
But
I get where your head's at.
I get where your head's at, but also at the same time, their advantage is about trying to stack their schedule with as many home games, so teams have to play in the 90-degree heat.
Do they get to do that? Is that something that NFL teams can do?
No, you don't. You don't make your own schedule. It's not college football. College football, you can make your own schedule.
Really?
No, the NFL. You have to.
Fucking bizarre to me.
Well, I mean, like
bizarre to me.
The conferences make your schedule in college football.
I get that there's an arbitrary outside that would make the schedule, but it's not like you get to choose. Oh no, we're gonna have these home games.
Well, you can schedule your out of conference games with other schools, and you go out, and your conference doesn't do that. So like the NFL, they make the schedule for the teams, but in college football, you kind of make your schedule to a degree. Like the conference tells you, hey, you're playing this, that, the other thing. But like your out of conference teams, you set that up.
But so when they have those NFL games in say like New Zealand or wherever the fuck they have them outside of America where.
Oh yeah, I think
like, does that team get some kind of stipend from, I guess, the NFL all as a whole for you get a couple extra 100,000 spending cap to pick your next pick?
I don't think you get any sort of. You
don't get any compensation for having to go somewhere else. I guess it would be both teams. You might because they're both out of water, but
you might get more money. I'm not certain on that, but I don't think you really. You definitely don't get any draft pick compensation for that.
Well, I'm just saying more that a you're not getting the first round draft.
You're not
third round draft.
You're not getting any of that,
but you're getting more money that you could put toward getting that first round draft pick.
But believe me, if the
Eagles, making that trade in some way to get the first.
If the Eagles and the Packers could get out of playing that game in Brazil, I think they would have. They did not set that up themselves.
So stupid. So I have one question about Tua real quick because I know that you know a lot more about college football than I do.
Yeah.
So Tua, I want to know: have you heard anything? Did you see or read anything about what Nick Saban said about Tua's concussion? Because, you know, he probably knows him probably the best.
Yeah. I have not heard what Nick Saban said about Tua, so you can enlighten me.
I don't. I was curious. I was honestly just curious if you, because I figured maybe you would have heard.
I kind of have an axe to grind against Nick Saban too, because he is like I think Alabama was blowing out Mississippi State when Tua sustained that massive hip injury that he got. That kind of like Tua was kind of like a consensus #1 pick that year, and then he blew out his hip because they just kept him too long in like a 35-14 or 7 game against Mississippi State. And I was pissed off. Like, I don't like Alabama, but I'm like, you just fucked that kid over.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to win this game. And I understand maybe it was like the first or second quarter when it happened, but it's just like, no, you got to rest your players. Because I've seen too many guys that like, hey man, you were blowing out this team. We're winning 35-0, but we're going to keep our starters in as like an exhibition. But like, no, like,
we're not the goddamn Globetrotters.
yeah, like you're Alabama.
Yeah.
Like their backup at that time, I think, was Mac Jones. Like you're going to keep scoring points on this team. And then you left him in too long and his hip was fucking destroyed. He had to do a whole lot of like, you know, rehabilitation just to get himself to the position where the Dolphins were like, oh, we got the 5th pick because they won a whole bunch of games they didn't need to fucking win. Yeah.
It sounds like he's still getting taken advantage of. And he, like, I don't know why, like, because it is really at the end of the day up to him. But why is he
just got
doing this?
He got a massive contract from the Dolphins. He's like one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league.
So at the end of the day, they just buy him out of the contract. Like if he can't play, the dude can't fucking play. You know,
he can.
I get that he wants to, like his heart's in it, but
I think
like he's still a human being. Like stop.
It's
for your family.
I understand that point, but it's also concussions don't necessarily have to be the end of your career.
Tell that to the Benoits
Or Junior Seau.
I mean, first of all, that was CTE, not concussions, so to speak. But also at the same time, we'll tell that to Sidney Crosby.
Not related. CTE is not related to concussions. I believe it is.
It's like they're hand in hand.
Yeah.
Well, you can't have one without the other.
It's their head trauma, so they can be related in that aspect, sure. But also at the same time, like you can get CTE just from like the little jolts that you get as an offensive lineman. So if you're going to make the case of CTE as we get broader and broader with this conversation, then you're like, all right, well, we should just not have any offensive linemen anymore, which we'll get into in terms of another stupid rule that the NFL did. But I don't want to get too far off the beaten path with this.
That's probably why the rest of the world likes soccer.
So
you could
you know, you could get that too, but it's a hell of a lot.
You can get CTE doing anything. You mentioned Chris Benoit. He was a wrestler.
Oh, his finishing move was a headbutt off the top rope.
Yeah.
Like, of course he's going to get you. Like, come on.
Yeah, I know, Moses. Calm down. Keep it in your pants.
It's out, and I can't put it back in. You know, I don't have my handlers.
Stop showing us your Benoit.
It was kind of
those are just the balls.
All of this, and I like Tua. I'm a fan of Tua. This one of the big reasons why I'm actually watching the Dolphins, because they have had this vitriolic, and by they I mean like Dolphins fans, have had this vitriolic reaction to him. Like they wanted to tank for Tua in 2019. That was the whole basic principle. Like we want Tua. And then all of a sudden, he plays like a couple of games and they're like, he's not him. Let's trade him and get Deshaun Watson. And it's like, all right, well, it's a good thing we didn't listen to you because Deshaun Watson has not been working out well with the Cleveland Browns.
That's how society is. Show me something now. Show me something right now.
Yeah, and make sure I like it until I don't.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't want to
moving on.
So I hope that the Dolphins will do what the Penguins did with Sidney Crosby and kind of like, let's just baby him along. If we got to shut him down for the season, let's not sacrifice one season for our franchise's freaking health. But also at the same time, what happened with the Dolphins in that game, not the injury to Tua, but what happened to them in that game against Buffalo was kind of karma. Because in the previous game, or before the previous game, I should say, Tyreek Hill decided that he wanted to speed down the freaking road that was right by, I think it's Hard Rock Stadium. I can't keep track of the names of these stadiums anymore. Yeah. To me, it's always Joe Robbie, but like, that it hasn't been Joe Robbie in a long time. And so the video footage, the body cam footage came out of what happened. And everyone leaned into this whole thing where it's just like, oh, well, this is what it's like to be, a black man in America driving a car. And it turned out that Tyreek was just being a dick.
Yeah, he was speeding. But from what I understand is he was speeding to get to the game.
Yeah.
So what do I have here? He was cited for reckless driving and driving without a license. So I guess.
So going through the entire body cam footage, the cops didn't say anything about not having a license. He handed them the license, so that is not right.
Okay.
He did have his license. The things that were cited,
license valid.
it was. They knocked down the reckless, I think, to a careless. That's what I heard them say on the body cam footage.
Off the internet.
And then speeding.
Yeah.
So like a lot of these people, that's like they don't know what the fuck they're doing. I was going by what they said in the body cam footage. So maybe they've knocked it back up to.
Dan was there.
Well, once you get into court, it gets knocked down. Like they take things off or lessen the charges.
Well, what ended up happening too is so they pull him over because he's freaking going down this road, and so the cops on the bike go right up and they pull him over and they knock on his window and he's like, Don't knock on my window like that. And he just hands him the freaking license and says, like, just give me my ticket. I'm going to be late. And it's like, first of all, Tyreek, by some chance, if you listen to this, I have a course you can take. It's called Producer Dan's Steps on How to Talk to the Police.
We had to do this for HR the podcast.
Step 1.
I have to take that class.
Yeah.
Step 1.
Terrible.
Yes, sir. Step 2. No, sir. Step 3, no excuse, sir.
Hands on the wheel.
Hands on the wheel. Don't tell them not to tap on your glass. Like, that's like, I get it. It's a car that's worth more than I am as a person. But
what, Matchbox?
It's a rare one.
I get it that you spend like
Hot Wheels.
And also the way that he explained it in that softball freaking interview that he had with Amazon is that, I just didn't want people taking pictures of me. And it's like, I get that, but you can't openly freaking just say, like, I'm going to keep rolling my windows up and then yell at the cop through the window when he's saying, like, roll down your freaking window. Because one, he doesn't know who the hell you are somehow.
I mean, I don't know who the fuck you're talking about right now.
Yeah. So,
even though you said it 100 times.
But I will say, as the Oliver, Tyreek Hill is in the wrong for talking to the police like that. Now, as a libertarian, that really kind of hurts my soul. But yes, I understand it because I have, I can attack this in two different ways. I'm a Dolphins fan, and I've also had military training to do law enforcement stuff. So you do have an escalation of force in this particular moment, or it's like, if the person is not listening to you, then you have to escalate at some point to something else.
To show a little bit of force. But
if you keep doing the same thing, you're insane.
The problem is this cop was fucking unhinged.
That's what I heard. Yeah, I was about to say that before. Where he had like two other problems. I think that he
was Kalai Campbell. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I'm sorry.
Over other fucking like football.
No, he just got in trouble for being too violent.
It was too violent. Like they pulled him out of the car and threw him on the ground. And I'm like, listen, I'm like,
better way to do this.
First of all,
there's training
with Tyreek Hill. Like, I think he did skip over his like being able to give verbal commands to Tyreek. It's like, listen, if you don't roll down the window, we're going to pull you out of the car and put you on the ground and put you in cuffs because you're not listening to me. Like,
I get what they do. Yeah.
But they just went kind of like from zero to be like, how am I supposed to talk to you if I, and also there's a safety aspect to that too, because he had tinted windows. So I'm like, I don't know if you have a gun or not. So I do understand the police aspect of it though, but it seemed like he jumped the verbal command thing.
Yeah. He went from 1 to 3 instead of.
Now, he is allowed in that moment to do that because that is the next thing. If somebody does not listen to you, in at least the military escalation force that I was trained in, you put hands on them.
Take action.
Yeah, you grab them, you grapple or whatever. In this particular moment, what made me think that he's unhinged was not that, so to speak, because that was a little bit of a jump of escalation, but sometimes you jump in escalation. How he treated the other two Dolphins players who just like
driving by
on the road. Yeah, they just randomly came up.
They didn't randomly. They saw that Tyreek was in a situation.
They recognized the car and my boy's getting pulled over for something.
They were taking the same route.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my guy.
So all three of them were late.
Well, no, they weren't even
because wasn't that his excuse for speeding?
Yeah. Campbell was put. I think it was Campbell was put in cuffs. I think it was Campbell who was the one who was put in cuffs, and he was the one that was actually trying to be the most civil. He was just like saying, like, listen, man,
that's just the most dangerous.
He had his hands up, like, I'm not doing anything. I'm like, listen, I just want to know what's going on because that's my boy. Like, what's going on? And it's like, get back in your car. Like, back up 25 feet beyond that car. It's like, he can't have a conversation with you. I understand that if you're a cop, you need to like control traffic.
Control the situation.
Yeah, you can't have too many fucking people rolling up on
you
the
don't want
situation.
to, but you should also have them like all kind of in front of you.
There were like
there's 2 of you.
There were like 10 fucking cops.
Oh,
in that-
there's
yeah. There was
well, then there's no real excuse for
and
this.
he kept when I think it was Jano Smith who pulled up in the other car, and I might have this in reverse, so excuse me if I got this a little bit confused. But the other player shows up, and he's even saying like, I just want to know what's going on. He's on the side, like his car. I think it was his car. It might have been somebody else's car. But they're pulled off on the side like diagonally, and he's just like, I just want to know what's going on. I just don't want to know what's going on with my guy. And it's just like, and he's having a civil conversation with the other cop, and then the cop that's like the one who got knocked down to administrative duty or whatever.
In retrospect, yeah.
He's the one that was just like, get out of here. And then he was just like, show me your license. He kept saying, show me your license, or like, get out of here. I'm going to freaking like put you in cuffs with the other guys. So I'm like, he went straight from 0 to 60 with these guys who were just like, what's going on? What's going on with my friend?
Well, I have to imagine they're all ginormous.
Well, yeah, they're massive.
I'm sure he was frightened.
Yeah. But also at the same time, the other cops were dealing with that in a more civil manner.
10 of them, and it's like, Jesus Christ, like, come on.
Everything got
have a small army.
You can hear Tyreek Hill distinctly say when he gets put on the ground, his phone is on the ground because he was on the phone with his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, and he's like, I'm getting arrested, Drew. And later on in the body cam footage, Drew Rosenhaus shows up, and it's essentially he's and I think it was one other gentleman or like the fixer of the situation. Get him out of the cuffs. He shakes the hands with the police officers. Everything's good. He plays in the game, and he actually has a pretty good game against the Jaguars.
So he wasn't late.
It was on time for the game.
Well,
did you see his touchtoudown celebration?
But
yeah, he got
so
like
why was
Waddle was cuffing him.
Yeah, he was being cuffed. So I'm sorry to interrupt you, but his Tyreek Hill's touchdown celebration was he scored a touchdown, and he put his hands behind his back like he's being cuffed.
Good for him.
And Jalen Waddle ran right up behind him and was like pretending like he was one cuffing.
Yeah, you kind of saw that one coming.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
It's the reaction to all of this is the thing that's really been irking me, because everyone was kind of like, oh, this is what happens, playing the race card sort of situation.
Man, it is. But
and I didn't appreciate that too, because, if you have this guy and he's going out there and not speeding, and you get pulled over speeding, and then you treat the
like he should still be held as accountable as any other person.
Yeah. And then he tries to go out there like, I want the cop fired. And to be fair, that cop should be penalized because you can't have cops that are hot-headed like that.
You can't, because that's not a cop.
No.
But also at the same time, more than what Tyreek did. And I feel the worst for Campbell and Smith because they didn't do anything and they're like getting fucked.
They just got caught up in the fucking hurricane.
They're just trying to check on their guy. The Dolphins' statement was so fucking ridiculous. And then also at the same time, like Tyreek going on this like virtue signaling like freaking campaign where he's just like, oh, I want to make change. I want to make change. And it's like, dude, how about you don't speed and you can make that kind of change? Make the change behind rules.
Why weren't you making change before you got caught? Or got in trouble?
Or just don't be late.
Yeah.
Oh,
show up on time.
It appears he wasn't late at all because he scored a touchdown or something or other.
Yeah,
he was able to play the game.
All 3 of them, right? Like how late were they?
They played the game.
Yeah,
you got to show up by a certain time. Get like the
warm ups.
Oh yeah, he was so late, so late to not score that touchdown, huh? Like, he was just speeding. He was just being an asshole. I was like, yeah, everybody deserves to be an asshole sometimes and speed. Like, go for it.
Yeah, my wife's.
You shouldn't be dragged out of your goddamn car for that. Because
my wife's about to have a baby. That's when you speed.
Yeah.
I speed all the time in the park. I drive like an asshole.
So I had to pull this up, and I will read as much of this as I can. The statement from the Miami Dolphins. And more than anything else, this is the thing that pisses me off the most. We are saddened by the overly aggressive and violent conduct directed towards Tyreek Hill, Kalai Campbell, and Janu Smith by police officers, one officer really, maybe 2, before yesterday's game. It's both maddening and heartbreaking to watch the very people we trust to protect our community use such unnecessary force and hostility towards these players. Yet, it is also a reminder that not every situation like this ends in peace. As we are grateful this one did, what if I wasn't Tyreek Hill is a question that will carry with resounding impact.
What?
We are proud to have a strong and positive relationship with the Miami-Dade Police Department and other law enforcement agencies, and recognize that the vast majority of officers do serve the community with the utmost character and desire to protect all citizens. However, as is on full display in the videos released tonight, there are some officers who mistake the responsibility and commitment to serve with misguided power. While we commend MDPD for taking the right and necessary action to quickly release this footage, we also urge them to take equally swift and strong action against the officers who engaged in such despicable behavior. We will stand beside Tyreek and our players as they work to use their platform and the situation to make a positive impact in our community. We have always believed that the game of football holds a unique power to bring people together, and we remain hopeful that through the collective work of the players, organization, and our community partners, we can create lasting change. Whoever wrote this should be fired immediately.
I have two things. First off, you can't trust Miami-Dade police because of Dexter. And number two, those are just words garbled up in like a garbage disposal and spit back out, because that is, I feel like I've heard that in a movie.
It's probably in from Dare or something.
It's ridiculous because your dude was wrong.
Yeah.
Like what if I wasn't Tyreek Hill? Yeah.
What if I had fucking wheels for legs? I'd be a bison. Like, what are you saying?
Here's what everyone else who isn't Tyreek Hill would do. They would roll down the window. They would not fucking say, don't tap on my glass like that. Don't tap on my window like that.
I don't know.
Superstar mentality.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would have that, but it is that kind of mentality. But I think there's a lot of people that would be like, do the same exact thing. And they're not as famous or wealthy as Tyreek.
So when any one of us in the room would get pulled over, obviously we all know what happens. Your heart rate goes up. You're like, what did I do wrong? Even if you have no idea what you did. Yeah. But yeah, I'm just saying. But someone like him, he probably doesn't feel that way because he's entitled. Well, you know, he makes way more than that fucking cop does. Yep. So, you know, I mean, I get where his head was at. You know, superstar. I get to do whatever. I get to do whatever the fuck I want.
That's why he used that excuse. That, I'm late for the game.
Yeah. And he wants to try to get that guy's fucking job for that. Like, you know what? That's shitty. That's shitty because he was a bad cop. I don't know if he is a bad cop. I mean, I have never seen shit on paper about it. Like, I've seen what the propaganda puts out. I don't fucking know.
I only go by public opinion.
So that's the thing that really irked me the most. The Dolphins' reaction to it. This whole like collective idea of it was just like, well, it's like a race thing. And I'm like, listen, this is a player that is so vital to the Dolphins. I'm actually biased towards him. Like, I'm like, no, this guy's got to be healthy enough to do porn after his career is over. He has literally said that he wants to do porn when he's done with his career.
At least he has a plan.
He's also said he wants to be a cop when he's done with his career. So this guy's got a lot of plans for his...
At least he knows a guy now.
At least he knows what genre he wants to get into.
He got taken down by that cop. Like, I mean, that's a porno right there.
I like cop porn.
I got to say, that was like the most frustrating thing for me in that whole Tyreek Hill situation. And then for him to get that softball interview with Amazon, I'm like, listen, you can actually ask him questions like, hey, why were you speeding? Do you think that's a good setting a good example for your younger fans? No questions like that.
Because but that's not what they were bought for. Like that, they're like his PR firm, like whoever his manager is, that PR firm of that company, that's what they set up. They're like, oh, we got to get him in a better light. Yeah. And so here we are. Here's a fluff piece.
And just playing the card of just like, well, we're going to inspire change in the community. Yeah. And I'm like, listen, if you want to inspire change in the community,
you would have done it.
Don't go 60 over the speed limit or 50, whatever the hell it happened to be. But yeah, maybe don't do that. So, I mean, Tua and Tyreek are massive, pieces to the Dolphin puzzle. So if Tua is hurt and Tyreek is, scatterbrained, which I mean, I don't think
arrested, Dan.
Yeah. Well, no, he wasn't arrested. He was only detained.
You said what if?
I've never been convicted of being scatterbrained.
It might be a long season for the Dolphins, and that's why existence is pain for Dolphins fans.
And you've reached the winter of our discontent.
You know what fan base also has a painful existence, Justin?
Oh, I do. But go on.
Is it the New York Mets?
It sure is.
It's the New York Mets.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's a swing and a miss for me.
So yeah, the Mets, yeah, they've been a team that I've been liking for all of my life, and it is total misery. You know, if you're a Mets fan out there, you definitely know that the Mets you will love watching them, but they will ruin you. They'll ruin you.
I used to like the Mets when I was a child because my godmother was a huge Mets fan, still is. And then I realized that there were the Yankees. And then I just changed my attitude. And I'm like, oh, this is so much better.
What's funny that you say that is the fact that like if you're a Yankees fan, like you're fine with like people who like the Mets, but like Mets fans fucking hate the Yankees. Fucking hate the Yankees.
That's because we're above you.
But it's not.
It seems that way.
It does seem like a hierarchy.
I mean,
kinda.
it just seemed that way.
But it's not like the Mets are doing all too poorly this season, though.
So this season has been fun since probably July. I don't know the numbers. I was trying to look them up before, but my phone sucks. They have been the best team in baseball since I believe July. From what I was reading. Don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure I'm right. But either first or second best team. But anyway, they've been doing really well. The teams that they've been playing, I think they're winning a lot of series. Right now they are playing the Phillies. They're in what's called a pennant race. If you don't know what baseball is, that's where we're at right now, and it's really fucking tight. And I just want to say, fuck the Braves. I hate the Braves. Always hate the Braves.
I could get behind that.
Yeah, no, I can't stand Atlanta.
Well, you're in the Mets are in a playoff race with the Braves as well because
they're AL.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same division.
The same division, but they're also all going for that same wild card spot.
Yep. So I think I believe right now the Mets are 2 games above the Braves for the third wild card, but they actually have a tiebreaker with the Diamondbacks. So if the Diamondbacks and the Mets tie, the Mets get the win over that, and they get the better seed.
Baseball ties now? I thought they just go into extra innings until somebody.
No, I'll tie in the standing.
So what happens with that, Moses, is that if you play that team multiple times and you because it's like
a series. Yeah, they do like best 2 out of 3.
Yeah. But it happens multiple times a year.
Yeah.
So if the Mets beat the Diamondbacks so many times, they get that.
Oh, I never knew that played into
it. Does, yeah. Yeah.
I just thought it was like at the end of the standings, it was like whoever won the most games is like here, and then you kind of have like a wild card because 2 teams are kind of like a game or 2 off.
It's so very close. So another thing that's happening right now with the Mets is they either have pitching or hitting. So right now, those 2 things are clicking very, very well. They got Francisco Lindor, who's a candidate for the most valuable player, but I'm not going to get into that at the moment.
That's like
Sean Manaea, who somehow pulled something out of his ass to turn into like a really great pitcher. We got him from the Padres or a free agent or something. But he's actually doing fantastic this year. He changed his pitching style. He actually watched Chris Sale pitch when they were playing. I can't remember the name of that team. Top of my head. Anyway, Chris Sale changed his arm angle from wherever it was to manipulate Chris Sale's, and he is like a different pitcher. But the one big thing with the Mets right now, whether they win or they don't. We don't know whether or not Pete Alonso is going to stay, which is a real bummer because I love Pete Alonso. He is a bit of he's goofy. He's not a great defensive player on first base, but the man can hit and he has a whole lot of heart. He does. He's that's what you need on a team. You need
I get
mentality.
I get that, but I mean he also has to play.
Exactly.
Yeah. He also that's the other half of that coin, you know.
Well, the money factor is also the other thing because I don't know. I'm not sure what the Mets are going to do. But besides that, yeah, when they're winning, it's fun. When they're losing, it's fucking embarrassing.
So
Sounds like sports.
You were saying something about the MVP for baseball. I know that Mr. Shohei Ohtani, who is now being compared to essentially Babe Ruth, like the Japanese Babe Ruth of modern baseball.
He's actually skinnier.
Yeah, he's not.
We're all skinnier combined.
I don't know what his prostitute total is, though. I don't know. If
I can't imagine he got Babe Ruth numbers.
But
it's higher than 3, I assure you.
I know that he just broke the 50-50 mark, which is 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases. And we were talking off mic, and you have a lot of things to say about this, Mr. Justin. So I figured I would let you pop off on because everyone is talking up Shohei Ohtani like he's the greatest of all time.
I've heard of Ohtani, and I don't follow sports at all.
I've heard the name. Podcast on Shohei Ohtani's gambling allegations.
Oh, it's the same one.
That guy.
Hi.
Oh, what? It's a common name in Japan.
So yeah, Ohtani. Yeah, everybody loves Ohtani because he like you said, he's doing the 50 for 50, 50 home runs, 50 stolen bases.
Apparently a really good pitcher too. He can't pitch this year because of Tommy John surgery.
He doesn't pitch this year, and so this year he's on pace for MVP, which it seems like everybody and their mother are talking about it. And I'm just getting tired of hearing about it. Like, yes, is it great? He's hitting all these home runs. Yeah. All right. What I want to know is why are they still pitching to Shohei Ohtani? They're not pitching to Judge anymore. They're walking him like every game, multiple times a game.
We're talking about Mike Judge.
no, Aaron
Judge. So
why did we let you sit in on this podcast?
Sports. So I don't understand why they're pitching to him, but they are, and he's a good hitter. So apparently he can hit a fastball, curveball, whatever the fuck it is. The other thing is though he's stolen 50 bases, which is pretty unheard of. I think Acuna hit 40 home runs and stole 40 bags last year.
I know Jose Canseco did that as well, but that's another.
That has
nice throwback there, Dan. Like that. So he stole 50 bags this year, but the thing with the bags is, if anybody knows this, they actually enlarged the bases to the size of a pizza box, which is true. I mean, it might not actually be a fucking pizza box, but it's pretty fucking big.
Yeah.
And I wonder. I actually heard that today. Somebody making an argument on some channel that has sports. No, not gonna name it. But does that play a factor?
I would have to imagine because you have to it's fucking closer to you.
Yeah,
it's closer to it.
If you can lead off further, you can.
There's more to get to. It's like it's theoretically closer to
surface area.
You could lead off for a foot and then you would slide to say if you're wherever you're going.
And also, what I will say though, it is impressive to still be able to do that because 50 stolen bases, despite the fact that they're much larger bases.
I completely agree. And also, I just actually remember this. So with the new rule this year, you can only throw while someone's leading on a base. You can only throw over there 2 times. If you throw over there one more
limit now,
if you throw over there one more time and you don't get him, he gets the bag. He gets to take the base. So like you can't keep him on. You can't keep the runner on without like ruining whatever you're doing.
Well,
pace of the game.
Pace of the game. I don't know how much more you have to say on Mr. Ohtani, but I think that's
pretty much it. He doesn't play defense. He doesn't deserve the MVP. Is he doing great? He sure is for the game of baseball. But no, you do not get the MVP because you didn't play fucking defense.
I say all this to say, because we're going to introduce our segment.
Sports.
And it has a lot to do with crap rules. So you were complaining just now about the Major League Baseball making all these changes, trying to speed up the game so you get more people interested in because those damn millennials don't want to enjoy the nation's pastime. So a couple of rule changes that have happened in football, Justin, I know you've got the rule set in front of you, is this has to be the gayest thing I've ever seen in terms of football. And that's saying something.
Football's pretty gay.
The new kickoff rule with the landing zone and nobody can move until the ball gets to the landing zone and caught and all that shit because it
can't be the way I'm picturing it in my head.
Justin is about to explain it.
All right, so I'm not going to be able to give you the exact verbatim of the rules, but I have them written down here. So there's 3 different touchbacks. Do you know what a touchback is, Moses? Okay. So the ball's kicked. The kicker is the lone man. I'm not sure where he's kicking the ball from, but it's
We'll say the 20.
Yeah, somewhere back
It's
there.
typically 20, 30.
And again, I don't know where they're lining up, but they're not lining up near the kicker. It's not like it used to be where everyone was lined up with the kicker. So the kicker kicks the ball. They have to kick it at what's called the landing zone. The landing zone goes from the end zone, the 0-yard line, goal line, to the 20-yard line.
What if you're like kicking from
This is the kickoff. This is the kickoff.
Oh.
This is the kickoff. So kick in front. They need to kick it in what's called the landing zone. And when they kick it in the landing zone, no problem. They'll run it back. If they kick it, let's see, if the ball hits the landing zone and rolls out of the end zone, that's a 20-yard touchback. So right.
Isn't that what it always was?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly. Yes, you're exactly correct. So now if they kick it into the end zone and there's no return and it just goes into the end zone, 30-yard touchback. So if they actually
you get more for less.
right, but because they actually caught it, yeah. So now there's also if the ball isn't even kicked into the landing zone, like it's kicked like shitty, that's a 40-yard touchback. So they get on the 40.
When do you get rewarded for being bad at your job?
Well, you're not getting rewarded. You're getting penalized.
Yeah.
How?
Because
But you're 40 yards up.
that's the opposing team getting the ball. Sports.
Oh, wait, what?
And
get the ball?
And the thing that pisses me off the most about this is these were rules from, I don't know if it was still called the XFL, maybe it's the UFL, but that disgrace of a spring football.
You are correct.
I thought the NFL was above stealing rules from a league that they think is inferior to them. And why are they using this rule? Like, I understand that no one was returning kicks last year because they were just kicking into the end zone all the time, but this is your solution?
So the only thing that I can think of, and we've already heard about this multiple ways, is the fact that it's for ACL injuries and MCL injuries, and trying to
Why are we treating those better than the fucking CTE injuries or these fucking concussion injuries?
because they want. I mean, you would think that they want more impact on the sport for fans to be like, all right, here we go, we got a kickoff again. No, they're going fucking backwards.
Yeah.
It's stupid. Player safety, I get it, but guess what? You're losing fan base because people want hard hits, which are taken away. Fucking amazing runs from kickoffs, which you're not getting. Like, what are we doing here? It's getting ridiculous.
The NFL actually put this in here because as you were explaining the rule, I was actually looking up how the NFL explains this.
I think I got it a little bit.
You did. I'm not going to jump into any of that.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I did want to read in operations.nfl.com, they said, for this rule change in particular, to address the lowest kickoff return rate in NFL history during the 2023 season and an unacceptable injury rate on kickoffs prior to that, NFL clubs have approved a new kickoff rule for the 2024 season. So it's like, okay.
Oh, so I need to
Safeties.
interrupt you for a second. And another reason why they did it was because I'm pretty sure the last Super Bowl we had no kickoff returns. Not one. Not one kickoff return.
Because all of these guys are pros and know how to freaking put it in the end zone. Does that change anything, really?
But it's just ridiculous. Does weather
You're
play a
still
factor?
airing
I don't know.
Doritos commercials.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit? What's going on? What they're
Still
doing.
paying a ridiculous amount of money for a seat at the Super Bowl.
If you want more kickoff returns, then penalize the kicker, the kicking team, for kicking a touchback.
Don't give them 40.
Yeah, kick him in the dick.
Yeah. Give them CTE.
Yeah, like give them hockey sticks so
right.
we can fucking fight this out at some point.
Can you imagine? So if they decided to like really fuck the team, like, okay, you know what? You kicked it in the end zone again on the kickoff. Guess what? Now you as a team have to use your backup kicker to kick field goals.
Oh, that would be great.
Really penalize them.
Yeah.
Like have some kind of negotiation, like, oh, I'll take this off of the table and that.
Now we're playing poker.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Well, it's supposed to be all a mind game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Another rule that's gotten me kind of flustered is college football has introduced a couple of new rules. One is not that bad because if you guys were, I don't know how much college football you've actually watched, Moses. So they used to signal the plays in with like kooky signs, like emojis or like, like memes or whatever. And it's actually kind of like, it's actually kind of funny.
Yeah, I want to actually watch these games now.
They got rid of that now. And now,
I don't.
and the coaches can now talk to one of the players on the field. So it's just like you have to designate one of the players to talk to on the field. I have no real problem with this because the pros kind of do that way?
Yeah, isn't that how the quarterback would get the plays?
relay the
He would
plays.
like just audible.
Yeah.
Like
There's a cutoff time for that, and also
Yeah.
like how
15
much
seconds, I think.
It's 15
I think it's
seconds.
15 seconds. I might be wrong on the time, but
And now also that they have somebody on defense that can do the same
Yes.
thing, right? Yeah, I've always wondered because like I don't know fucking everything about sports, but go on.
So the one thing that's really kind of annoyed me, I know I just said like, oh, it's more like the pro game, so I don't really mind that. But it's also kind of like, the players got to get the play somehow. The college football 2-minute rule now, where they've essentially just added the 2-minute warning to the college game, but you're not allowed to call it the 2-minute warning. It's just called the 2-minute timeout. And it's just like, okay, I understand that you kind of want to make the game more like the pros, but also at the same time, you had the first down and the clock stops and it keeps rolling, and then it will only start up again when the chains get reset. You had that rule, and then you get rid of it and you add this in here. I'm sorry. It's annoying to me that you're going to continuously keep changing everything about college football to make it more like a professional league.
So they're doing the same thing that the NFL does. Like if the ball hits the ground, the clock stops. But if you do like a running play, it's still going.
Yeah, it's still going. It used to be it would always be like that in college football unless you got the first down, and then the clock would stop until the the umpires reset the chain.
The new 10 days.
It would actually be very helpful because I'm a Navy fan. So if you were trying to run like a quick 3-minute, like Navy couldn't really run a 2-minute drill because they run the ball. But if you were trying to like get down the field in a hurry, you still be like, all right, we don't actually have to call a timeout if we get the first down because we just hurry to the line and spike it or just run another play or something like that. Now, college football has done everything in its power to make life a living hell for the service academies. So this one isn't, it's just.
This sounds very biased. Go ahead.
Well, they took away the cut block rule. They made a cut block rule to really punish the service academies. But in particular for this one, for the 2-minute timeout, I got to say, I'm not a fan of it just because there were other rules in place for college football where you could just stop the clock if you got the first down. Now, obviously, it's not a whole hell of a lot of time, but
it still slows it down and gives you a little bit of time to get your wherewithal and be like, oh, hey, now we got to fucking do something.
It's just the taking away from. Since I've been a kid, they've done a lot to really change
the game.
Yeah, change college football into the NFL. And I love college football. I like college football more than the NFL.
So here's a question for you, Dan. When they throw that, when will they change it from 1-step to 2-step for the receivers to catch that touchdown?
What?
Yeah, I mean that's
so. Whenever I don't know this rule.
So the rule, and so 1 sec, Dan.
Yeah.
So the rule for college football, which is much different than the NFL, when you throw a pass to catch inbounds, the receiver only needs to have 1 foot in play before they get knocked out and consider it a catch. In the NFL, 2 feet have to touch the ground.
2 feet, 1 knee, something like you
have to be.
So you know that one's coming too.
Yeah,
Dan.
it's eventually going to come.
I don't understand why they don't.
Well, because now everything
it seems like that should be just what it is. Because if you catch it like even 1 foot in,
then you got to. Then if you do go to the NFL, then you got to get ready to do two.
Get harder. It also seems like that's a natural progression. Like, all right, now I know how to do 1 foot. Now I got to learn how to do 2 feet. Now that I'm in the NFL, now it's just like, oh, you're just in the NFL now. So what's the difference? You're paying all these guys like they're in the NFL with NIL now. That'll be a later podcast.
Well, that's why they can do that.
Let's give you the 2-minute now too.
That's why they can do that.
Let's give you the 2-minute. Let's essentially make ticket prices so high now that like if you're a fan of like the Tennessee Volunteers, good luck. Good luck. Good luck affording it. It's just college football used to be just like the simple and sweet version of football. You go there. There was no halftime show. It was just a bunch of kids playing like they're
sweet summer child of what real life is to come.
Yeah, and then you wouldn't have to hear like Sweet Child of Mine or frickin' Paradise City if you went to a college game. If you heard it, the college band was playing it. Now it's just like the equivalent of going to an NFL game.
The college bands are awesome, honestly. Yeah. I went to a whiteout game in Penn State. I would say I don't know about 10 years ago or so. It was awesome. So I was born in Penn State, State College. So like I've been. Have I loved? Have I born in? I was born at State. I was born at State College. I said it wrong. All right.
Well, no,
yes, I'm a. But I
was born in the bathroom of.
Yes, I am a Nittany Lion.
All right.
Fucker.
Wow. Can I have your autograph after this?
I have a paw. I can't sign anything.
All right. I love cats.
NFL rookie quarterbacks.
All right, so we're talking about rookie quarterbacks. So here's the thing about the quarterbacks. You got number one draft picks who go into the NFL. They get in the NFL. They learn the system. They're the number one. Let's go with the number one pick, Bryce Young.
Yep.
So doing well in Alabama. I think it was Alabama. I think I have that written down here somewhere.
Bryce Young went to Alabama.
And he bombed it. So his first 2 years in the NFL, 2-16. That is third worst in NFL history.
Moses, you have your hand up politely.
Alabama has a NFL team?
No, the Crimson Tide.
Oh, no, I know. Yeah.
Sorry, he went to college. He went to college in Alabama.
Okay.
He got drafted by the
Carolina Panthers.
Okay.
They made a huge trade to get him too, and they had the number one pick. And what makes this particular story so interesting is because the guy who got taken second overall by the Houston Texans is CJ Stroud, who's already become like one of the best quarterbacks in the league already, practically.
Yeah, he's actually like, honestly, he's doing so well. That's the Titans, right?
Texans.
The Texans. I always get those two confused. It's just so ridiculous.
It's so much easier when they were just the Oilers. Although the Tennessee Titans were once the Tennessee Oilers and were once the Houston Oilers. So it becomes very complicated.
I only recognize the Houston Oilers.
The Houston Oilers were a far better name, a far better team.
They actually do that throwback jersey pretty good.
Yeah.
I do like it when they do that. Anyway, but yeah, so we're back on Bryce Young. Yeah, he just got benched. And they brought in the red. I think they call him the Red Rocket.
Andy Dalton.
Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
Is he a red?
That dude is that dude is a journeyman. He's been on like every single team, I think.
Yeah, practically. He was on the Bengals for a while. He's been on so many teams that
Cowboys
lost. Oh yeah, he was on the Cowboys, wasn't he?
There's so many other teams.
Yeah.
He's just working his gig.
But so that being said, also another terrible thing that's happening now is Caleb Williams. I'm pretty sure, was he a number one draft pick?
He was the number one pick of the Chicago Bears this past draft.
He was the number one pick. So the Bears actually got rid of Justin Fields, and they decided, you know what, we don't want Justin Fields anymore. He was was he a number one pick? He was up there.
I think he was up there. I don't know if he went first overall.
So they had Justin Fields, and they're like, you know what? This guy's not doing it. He can run, he can throw, but he's just not that good. You know what? Let's draft Caleb Williams. Let's get him going. So they drafted him, and he hasn't won. He hasn't done shit in 2 games. So I mean, granted, it's only been 2 games, but like he is looking awful.
Well, it's also too. We got to like. I know we're like building this up to a larger conversation about what to do with first-year quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But for Caleb Williams, it's only been 2 games. He's playing for a team that isn't particularly good.
Prove me wrong, Caleb.
Yeah. It's also you gotta let.
I know he listens. We chat email.
You gotta let
Instagram.
You gotta let kids. I know they're like 25-year-old men or practically or whatever, but you gotta let these guys develop. Justin Fields was the 11th overall pick in the 2021 NFL draft in the first round.
So still first round.
Still first round. Still like the type of quarterback that you bring in. It's like potentially a franchise player. But for Caleb Williams, he had a lot of skill. Like he showed a lot of potential at USC. So I would just say for Caleb Williams, you got to let him develop, see what happens. There's a lot of push for these football fans to kind of jump the gun. I alluded to it a little bit with Tua. Because Tua played for a little bit. He only played a couple games in his rookie year because they had Ryan Fitzpatrick. And then all of a sudden, like, oh, no, he's not good enough. Let's get to Sean
Magic
Watson.
Man.
Yeah. And I'm just saying, like, guys, these are young players. It's their first couple of seasons in the NFL. You give up too easily on some of these guys. So, like, Bryce Young, he had a whole season, but also bad team. It can't be all him. Like, he's not the one making tackles on, defensive side of the ball. But also at the same time, if he's playing like shit, maybe you should have just brought in the veteran, done this last year, and not crushed his confidence. Because a lot of that, I view quarterbacks the same way I view goaltenders in the National Hockey League, where it's better to overdevelop them, like cook them for too long in the crock pot, rather than undercook them.
Well, the Packers are actually like a great example. So I mean, Aaron Rodgers rode the bench for so many years behind Brett Favre, and now look at Aaron Rodgers. So, I guess I'll give you the example of Jordan Love. Jordan Love, watching him play, he sat under the tutelage of Aaron Rodgers, and that was like, okay, this guy can play.
Yeah.
And of course he got hurt. The only other thing I'm going to say about a quarterback that seems like he's going to be doing okay, and I don't know if Trevor Lawrence was the number one pick, but
I think he was.
He was actually, I don't know. He's definitely changed some things in my eyes for him being as a quarterback. He's actually a white guy, which is weird for a quarterback these days. Like, and he can do it
I
all.
thought that was the only place.
Right? You would think that.
In
No.
NFL, that's the only place.
No. It's offensive lineman.
Huh.
Yeah, that's where the big white guys go.
Weird.
Trevor,
Yeah, for center, but
Trevor Lawrence looks like he should be
So
cast in a
upset
Point
face.
Break.
Oh, absolutely.
He
He's
should
like
just
a
be Bodie.
giant white, long haired, like chiseled man, which is weird.
oh, I hear wedding bells.
But what I will say too, in terms of young college football, young NFL quarterbacks, if you give up too soon on them, like Peyton Manning in his rookie year was not great. He threw a ton of interceptions. Eli Manning, same thing.
Drew Brees wasn't fucking great in his first.
Drew Brees had a lot of down
Yeah.
years.
Well,
Like he was not
at the
great.
beginning, he was like,
Honestly, so let's look at Tom Brady. Tom Brady sat on the. And I fucking hate Tom Brady, so we're clear. But Tom Brady sat on the bench behind Drew Bledsoe. Drew Bledsoe got fucking hurt. And Tom Brady came in and fucking ruled the day.
Yeah.
So fuck you, Tom Brady. You're still really good, but I never liked you.
Yeah. I was right. And we didn't even mention that like Tom Brady was rumored to be going to the Dolphins. And I'm like, when will this rumor die? He's not going to leave a cushy Fox job where he's probably making more than he would make with the Dolphins.
Oh no, Fox just bought the Dolphins.
No, Tom Brady bought the Dolphins.
That might be true too.
Now he's all the
Might have
things.
bought the fucking Fox.
He actually got a cloning device, so he's going to be all the quarterbacks.
No, he is a Fox.
I will say, though, I did look this up just to confirm. Trevor Lawrence did go first overall in the NFL draft in 2021. So, yeah, he's developing. He was a good quarterback for Clemson, so he's developing nicely for the Jaguars. I just don't know what direction the Jaguars in and of itself are going. Like, they seem like that should be the team that wins that division. But then all of a sudden, Texans get C.J. Stroud and, the paradigm, so to speak, is flipped.
What? And just because I just thought of it, Robert Griffin III. Remember that guy?
Yeah.
Remember how it was like, oh man, this guy's gonna be like amazing.
To be fair, he had a really good rookie season.
Yeah, he did
for the Redskins.
And then after that, it was
because he banged up his knee. I think he tear his ACL, MCL.
Yeah, it was something brutal, and then he just never recovered.
He never recovered. He backed up. I think he didn't he hung around for a while because I think he was backing up Lamar Jackson briefly with the Ravens. And then he went on to become a terrible commentator and got fired by ESPN for being a terrible commentator.
And they're filled with terrible commentators.
So, because this is a sports podcast, let's also say this is the last thing I want to say about quarterbacks. Geno Smith, who the fuck saw this guy coming back?
No, I did not.
Like he
I sure didn't.
I mean,
nice down over.
So yeah, he's actually doing really well, and like his teammates actually love him. Surprisingly, like he just I don't know. I never saw him happening.
It's the humility. Like he crashed with, I think it was the Jets, right? Like
and he did something in a locker room where he got in trouble. Like he hit somebody or somebody punched him in the chin or face. Yeah, they didn't like him, but now he's kind of won it over and he's doing well. So good for you, Geno.
It's just a matter of every once in a while, like every player develops differently. And so you got some players that immediately hit the ground running like a CJ Stroud. And then you got a guy like Geno Smith. It's a late bloomer. And he's just got to go from team to team and figure out what he's going to do. And then finally he goes to a team and it's like, all right, we click. Maybe he's not going to become like a Drew Brees or Peyton Manning or something like that. But as long as you know the offense and you can work it efficiently, you're doing the job. And if you have the pieces around you, like it doesn't matter if you're a quarterback and you only make like $8 million a year. That's more money that can go to other positions so you can become a more complete team.
Yeah. I would like to note that and I don't want to continue talking about this, if we did not say anything about Patrick Mahomes or the Chiefs, which I love.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about my favorite fucking NFL player, Taylor Swift.
Swifty?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to shake off that comment.
Just shake it off. Shake it off.
All right. So real quick, before we head out, Deion Sanders is all over the place. And I said this to you, like he's on commercials. He's the coach of Colorado in college football. I said this to you before we even thought of doing a sports episode, Justin, that I said that was a good hire because the Colorado Buffaloes in college football were absolutely irrelevant until they hired Deion Sanders.
Yeah.
But then what happened? They won their first 3 games. They didn't do shit after that. They were the worst team in the Pac-12. They moved over to the Big 12 now, and they beat Colorado State, I think, recently. But the idea is that the culture around this Deion Sanders-led team is like straight up poison. And it's also like he's not bringing in players to create a program. He's bringing in mercenaries using the transfer portal, which at some point we'll probably do an episode about that. And Deion is not creating anything. And there's the perception with Deion Sanders that he's only sticking around to get his kids into the NFL. And once they're in the NFL, out.
See, and I'm glad you brought that up, Dan, because I was actually going to say, Deion Sanders' son, I don't remember his name.
Shador.
Shador, thank you. Is he that good? And also, like, did Primetime just say, like, my son is the quarterback? Like, was he the quarterback before Deion got there?
He was the quarterback last season, but I think Shador, if I have this correctly, Shador followed him because
the dad.
He followed him because they were coaching. He was coaching Jackson State, a historically black college, and Shador, I think, was his quarterback there because I think Shador is a senior this year. I can probably look all this up, but Shador is he's actually really good, and he's expected to be drafted somewhere. At this point, it's hard to tell where he's gonna go, but he's pretty good. I don't know how he would fare in the NFL.
He's gonna be a backup. He's gonna be we'll go back to Tyler Huntley.
Yeah, I mean that could work out, but also at the same time, if he can put up some numbers in Colorado, like potentially maybe sneak himself into the first round. Quarterbacks tend to get highly overrated.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look, Ryan Tannehill played 1 year at Texas A&M as a quarterback. He was a wide receiver before that, and he went 8th overall because the Dolphins were so desperate for a quarterback. They were like, all right, let's get Ryan Tannehill. And to Tannehill's credit, he was not a bad quarterback for the Dolphins. Was he a type of quarterback that will win you a Super Bowl? Of course not. Was he the type of quarterback that's like Rocky and like freaking all the Rocky movies? I didn't hear no bell. Yeah, the guy kept getting freaking destroyed like practically every down. Like, yeah, there's no offensive line in Miami, so you're just going to get tackled.
Mm.
But they tend to overrate the quarterback. So it is very possible that Shador Sanders has such a good season. He's not having that right now, but at least individually put up the stats and do well at the combine that somebody's like, listen, we need a quarterback. We need one right now. So maybe we roll with Shador because we're not going to get the first overall pick.
I think in Colorado we get rid of Deion Sanders and go Barry Sanders.
Oh.
And that's how I feel about that.
I love Detroit.
I just like the concept that everyone loved Deion Sanders last year. And then all of a sudden everyone's like, yeah, fuck Deion Sanders.
Because they realize, like, yeah, Deion Sanders is great for, a night.
Because it wears
off. But then, it wears
man.
off.
Like,
but it's like, oh, right, this guy's a douchebag.
It's real thick, and then it gets real thin. And it's like, man, we've heard this song and dance before, and here we are. Like,
yeah. And it's also, too, if you're a Colorado fan, if you're a Colorado fan and you're seeing like, all right, we went 4-8 last year, but there was potential because we beat TCU and I think it was the first or second game of the season. They beat TCU and TCU the previous year had gone to the national championship game. So there was potential. I'm like, all right, we might be coming back. And then all of a sudden it's like, no, you're not going to be that program.
Well, when he was doing well, he was talking a lot of shit. Now he's not doing well, and he was doing pizza commercials for Pizza Hut.
And he's still talking the shit, though. I think that's what drives people crazy. If you are like Deion Sanders is a great football player, talked a lot of shit, but he backed it up.
Yeah, he was just as good as he said.
It was him doing it, though. It wasn't like him relying on.
Now he's trying to do that. Like, we know you can do it, but can you teach these kids how to do it?
Yeah, well, you can't. I mean,
like,
talent.
Yeah,
and he did
those who can't do.
He did a great job at Jackson State too. So it's not like he got this job for no particular reason. Colorado picked him because they're like, hey, he really turned around that program at Jackson State. Maybe he can do the same thing in Colorado. He's not doing it, and what he's doing is like essentially.
Maybe it's just the talent then.
Well, I mean, what he's.
Maybe it's just like he can only do as good as what he has to work with.
But in college football, you're the one who picks the talent. You go out, you recruit.
I thought they had other people do that.
Well, you do have recruiters, but like the head coach can actually make recruiting visits to go get those players. And the thing that Dion essentially is building in Colorado is just to get a collection of mercenaries instead of getting guys straight from high school, so you can develop a program rather than just like plugging holes every year.
It's like that movie Necessary Roughness, where they play the team from prison, and it's like got Jim Kelly. I don't know, all this
all NFL,
all like
the NFL,
and they kicked the fucking shit out of him. It was great for like actually I think it was only for like 4 downs. Maybe it was only 1 down.
I think they gave up, right?
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I was thinking of The Longest Yard. I'm like, the Burt
No,
Reynolds
that's the prison one.
Yeah, that's the person.
Yeah. Sinbad was in it.
Was Sinbad in that?
Yeah.
Wait, and Necessary Roughness. Yeah.
Well, I think we're about done here. So our own little 2-minute timeout will be longer than 2 minutes. So if you guys enjoyed our little bonus episode, sports and all that stuff, make sure that you subscribe to the Loud and Drunk podcast. Leave us a 5-star review. Check us out on YouTube and Rumble. Make sure that you like, comment, share, and hit that notification bell if you're watching us on YouTube and Rumble so you don't miss out on any of our content. Follow us on social media. We are at Loud and Drunk on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. If you enjoyed this Loud and Drunk Sports podcast, then become a Loud and Drunk supporter at patreon.com/Loud and Drunk. And I also want to encourage you to hit us up on our home base, loudanddrunk.com. You can catch up on not only this podcast, but all the other Loud and Drunk podcasts. Purchase some cool merch, or at least check it out. And Moses, they can harangue you using the contact.
Come talk to me, because I would love to hear what you have to say.
So for Mr. Justin, the automotive technician.
Wow, since you put it that way.
Listen, if you want to follow Justin the Mechanic on anything, I'm not on any of the social media, so throw me some snail mail.
I just created one.
If you want to follow Justin on social media, follow the Loud and Drunk podcast on social media. Maybe I'll put him in charge of the Twitter.
No, I don't know how to do that.
All right, then. Moses will be in charge of the Twitter. And
all right, I'm going to X you. Triple X you. It's going to be like Vin Diesel. Ice Cube. Do you like that version better? I don't know.
So for Justin, Moses, I'm Dan. And until next time, maybe the Dolphins won't be so miserable.
Sports.
And the home of the brave.
Go Navy.